The 355. So the 355 is directed by Simon Kinberg, somehow, and it stars Jessica Chastain, Penelope Cruz, Lupita Nyong'o, Sebastian Stan, and a bunch of other people whose names I don't fucking care to look up because this movie wasted my goddamn time. And the general plot of this thing is that there is a device that can hack into anything and everything on Earth, and they gotta find it because some terrorists want it. I bet you've never heard of that plot before. Oh, but it gets better because the good guys is it's just a team of women who are smarter than and better at everything than anybody else all the time, always. How about we start with the pacing? Because it is the only thing that I can list that should be there, but isn't. Seriously, I thought this movie is 2 hours and 2 minutes with credits. I thought it was tomorrow when I was walking out of this movie. It felt so goddamn long. And part of what is not helping with that are the action sequences. This is a spy movie. A spy action espionage movie. It should at least have decent fight scenes, or decent gunfights, or decent anything. There is one decent action scene in this entire movie. The rest of it, all shaky cam, completely incomprehensible. There were points where, like, especially during, like, the final battle, like, the final fight in this movie, where there's a character shooting at something, and I'm like, okay, that's where they are in the apartment, because knowing where everybody is in a fight scene is kind of what makes a fight scene comprehensible. It's part of what makes any scene comprehensible, but when the entirety of the scene is supposed to be you're supposed to have your audience track who's doing what and when, knowing where everybody is super important. And this doesn't do that. There's a scene where I think it's Lupita Nyong'o's character is shooting somebody, and it cuts to show where she's shooting at, and she's shooting at this dude in front of a window. But from what I understood about where she was in that scene at that particular moment, she shouldn't have been anywhere near a window. And there's just little stuff like that all over this movie, like from beginning to end. The very first action scene in this movie, I had no idea what was going on the entire time. I'm like, who's fighting who? Why is any of this happening? What's going on? I'm pretty sure that person just got kicked. It beats me. This is a star-studded cast. You would think that even if not everybody was completely bringing their A game to this movie, they'd at least be pretty good. I mean, you got Jessica Chastain, you got Penelope Cruz, and really the only two performances that I was actually like, you're good in this, was Sebastian Stan and Lupita Nyong'o. She was my favorite character in the entire movie. There were some moments where she's supposed to be selling some emotion, and she sells it really well. The same can't be said really for anybody else in the movie. So basically, each of these agents are from a different country. There is an agent from Germany in this movie. I hated every second she was on screen. She was so unlikable. And at times I thought and her accent was like a little bit hard to tell. There were times in this movie I was like, are you trying to do a German accent or are you Swiss? So, that was fun. Should we talk about the completely cliched and at times completely incomprehensible plot? I feel like that's a good thing we should talk about. Because, oh my god, I didn't know what the hell was going on for the first few minutes. And when I say the first few minutes, I mean like the first hour of this movie. There's a scene where they are trying to get this thing from just weird bad guy. And they're following him through the streets. And so you're like, okay, well he's obviously one of the bad guys. And they're the good guys trying to get him. But then this dude had other bad guys besides just her, or besides just the good guys chasing him, which makes, and that never goes explained. So I'm just like, it left me sitting there thinking, okay, so was he a bad guy or was he a good guy? It made me super confused. And there's just a lot of stuff like that in this movie where I don't know who the good guys or the bad guys are supposed to be, which I think also doesn't help the fact that the twists of the movie, they're not even twists. You see them coming a mile away. You do. There's a character who dies in this movie, or dies, and I was like, you're gonna, yeah. And on cue, I'm like, oh yeah, there they are. Neat. So, I think this movie actually killed some of my brain cells. I'm being honest with you guys. Also, this movie was completely gutless. This is a PG-13 movie. You realize PG-13 movies are still allowed to show a little bit of blood, right? There are times where people will get shot like 5 or 6 times back to back, and then they'll show the body, and there's no bullet holes, no blood, no splatter, no nothing. That really takes you out of it. It felt toothless. It really, really did. And that shit just pisses me off. There's not even like stains. Like there are like people who get shot with white like button-ups on. And I'm like, okay, well, put some food coloring on that shit or anything. No, it's just completely white. Also, there's a scene where the German chick gets shot in the shoulder and they're acting like, oh my god, she's gonna die. She got shot in the shoulder. Right, so I think I've thought about this movie way more than I should have. But I'm done with it. In the case of the 355, for casual viewers, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10. It is one of those movies that probably should have just come out on Netflix. You know those movies on Netflix that you watch and you completely forget 10 seconds afterwards because you weren't really paying attention? It's one of those movies. For critical viewers, I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10 because, oh my god. And for me, personally, I'm going to give it a D. Just a solid D. So, have you guys seen the 355? You've not seen the 355. And if you have, I'm sorry. I feel bad for you. What did you guys think about it? Tell me down in the comments below. I'm genuinely curious. And remember, if we disagree, that's fine. Just be respectful about it. I'm happy to talk about it with you. Until then, I'm going to go read a quantum physics book to gain some of my IQ back. Ciao.